What's up, guys? Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about redlining. Redlining is a discriminatory practice by which banks, insurance companies, etc., refuse or limit loans, mortgages, insurance, etc., within specific geographic areas, especially inner city neighborhoods. If you look at the map above, you can see how the city was marginalized based on the demographics. Mr. Coates of The Atlantic recently had a good series of blog posts about the post-World War II formation of the ghetto as we know it in northern cities, and the forces that led to their creation. According to him, a curious mix of agitated lower middle-class white ethnic violence, urban elite policies, and poor federal policy created today's inner city. The term redlining was introduced by American sociologist Jay McKnight in the 1960s. That's Jim Crow era, by the way. Using the term, McKnight described the discriminatory practice employed by banks when investments in certain neighborhoods were banned based solely on the demographics of the area. In this study, McKnight identified that certain banks denied various financial services, mortgages, student loans, credit cards, to people living in areas predominantly populated by African Americans. The discriminatory nature of redlining made the practice illegal, but we all know when you get caught, you just hide better instead of doing right, especially when it comes to the higher-ups. Although the civil rights movement began to reshape race relations, especially by making segregation illegal, the policies and practices of a segregated society continue to influence American society. Residential housing is one area in which it impacts housing discrimination. It shows how not only is it destructive, it's also long-lasting. So even though it's supposedly illegal and it happened in the past, we know it's still happening. Like, don't treat us like idiots. What's not so apparent to many citizens is the relationship between these discriminatory policies and current economic, health, and environmental outcomes. So during the Great Migration, of course, there were zoning laws, restrictive housing covenants, racial steering by real estate companies, and of course, none other than the discriminatory lending policies, which forced them into specific areas. So we got gentrification on one hand, then we got y'all forcing us to live like a zoo, really, and keep them all in one place. That's what they thought. And of course, it was the worst of what the city had to offer: unsanitary housing conditions, high density, inadequate public infrastructure. They even categorized it to have a hidden agenda when speaking amongst each other. You say I should let it go, but reconsider your request before I make a mess.